Thomas, thanks very much for joining us. For those who may not know, just give us a brief idea of what Kempen are doing in terms of the infrastructure space.
Kempen Capital Management is a specialist asset manager based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. We have a strong long-term focus, a clear investment vision, and at Kempen we focus on a number of investment strategies, of which one is real assets, including infrastructure.
And in terms of that infrastructure side, Thomas, what are you seeing at the moment as some of the key trends?
So we invest globally in the broad definition of infrastructure, meaning we focus on transport, infrastructure, communication, slash digital infrastructure, as well as the utility and renewable spaces. We believe actually that infrastructure is going to be on a multi-decade secular growth story, which is driven by three mega trends. One of them being digitalization, the upcoming middle class and especially emerging markets, and last but not least, it's the energy transition.
In terms of that energy transition, Thomas, what are you seeing? Is this focused purely on renewables, or are there also other areas that you're looking at? And I guess, how do you judge that if you're looking at investments with companies that have potentially legacy assets in terms of fossil fuels?
So what we say is, for us, it's important to have a forward-looking trajectory. So it's not a tick-the-box exercise on investing solely in renewables. Obviously, we could do that if they are attractively valued, but for us, we want to see where a company is going to, which means that they could still have legacy assets, as long as the company and management team is committed to Paris. Although it's carbon intensity might be too high according to the definition and the targets today, as long as there is this clear objective to replace their fossil fuels facilities by renewable energies, and with that significantly lowering their carbon footprint and actually do better than agreed with Paris, we could definitely still invest in them. Actually, to be honest, from a risk return point of view and valuation standpoint, we see that some of those companies are actually more attractively valued than some of the pure play renewables. And in addition, if you look at the energy transition, it's just broader than pure the renewables. With all those new build, the grid will also need to be upgraded. So we think that that is an area that is sometimes overlooked, but the amount of investments that is needed to get the grid, electricity grid up to date to handle the new generation will be significant, and with that bringing a lot of opportunities for us.
And for those who may not be as familiar with this area, Thomas, in terms of the grid, what types of infrastructure investment are we looking at there?
It's mainly transmission lines. So you often see, obviously, that the place where you generate the electricity is not the same place where the demand is. And there is more volatility now because, the sun is not always shining, wind is not always blowing. So you need to have clear investments to be able to handle that.
And in terms of the ESG impact side, Thomas, do you see that as a big driving force here?
It is. Actually two sides, I think. First of all, you see that investors, and not only us, but also our investors are focused on it, and it's important to make a difference. So the number of funds that are actually targeting vehicles that have a clear ESG objective is growing. And for us, it's important. To be honest, it's going to be a win-win. We believe that the companies that perform well with this energy transition, focusing on changing their generation fleet, being committed to Paris, ultimately will also show the performance.
And looking at the crossover points between real estate and infrastructure, is this an area, particularly if you're looking at heat and power and cities, is that a key area also in terms of infrastructure?
There will be an infrastructure involvement. There's still a lot of gas-connected distribution platforms available in cities. So that is the infrastructure space that is providing that. And in addition, if you now also think about electricity as a broader service to the society, not only for the utilities, we're clearly going to see electrification. So you also have EV charging that will be will need to be developed. A big role will be there played by the utilities, who make sure that the network is available. But it also can mean that houses or other buildings, there will be rooftop solar available that needs to be connected to grids.
Great, really good to catch up. It's going to be interesting to see how this sector develops going forward. Thanks very much for joining us, Thomas.
Thanks very much.